This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with a Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
A mom called and she said, I have a 5th grader I'm going to bring, but I also want to bring my 3rd grader. And I was like, no. Well, I don't know if this is appropriate. And she was like, no, really? Like, she's got breasts and everything developing. I literally can remember it clearly. As soon as I saw the girl, I was like, yeah, she really does need to be here. She's almost as tall as her 5th grade sister. She's developed. And that started like 10 years ago, where I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, kids could be as young as 3rd grade in this.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the brilliant Bree Tucker.
Why, hello, buddy. How are you? Guys, I am stoked about today's episode because normally we have our little banter about everything that's going on, but I just have to tell you, our guest we have today, you have heard of her. You know her. You know her well.
She's one of our very first guests ever.
I was going to say, not only because of her amazing work, but because her episodes that she has been featured on are some of our most downloaded episodes. And she is the guest with the most. I was going to say the host with the most.
I think she might have also been like in part of our single digit episode numbers. Like, this is how long.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're on episode, 360 something? 371 is this episode.
Yes.
And like, we started back in 2020. And so it's been such a ride and we greatly enjoy her. And I've got to see her in person and hug her. So without further ado, let me introduce her. Her name is Dr. Sheryl Gonzalez Ziegler, and she's a clinical psychologist, the best-selling author of Mommy Burnout, and her newest book, The Crucial Years, The Essential Guide to Mental Health and Modern Puberty in Middle Childhood. She's also the podcast host of Dr. Sheryl's Podcouch, a regular national and local news contributor, and runs a private group practice in Denver, Colorado. Dr. Ziegler's TEDx talk, Why Moms Are Miserable, has over 1.3 million views and is all about the power of social connection. And as we said, she's a No Guilt Mom 3-timer. So let's get on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
There we go. Up to Dr. Sheryl Gonzalez Ziegler, who we've seen multiple times before. You've been in our summits. And I was so excited to see you on CBS. Was it CBS Mornings? The clip? I was like, that's my friend. Ah!
I know her. Oh my God, I know her.
It's so fun when I get to do national stuff because you don't know who's watching, who's like, someone might be watching because they're going to be on it. But then there's once in a while, there'll be like a couple people be like I had a friend who was like, I was in a hotel lobby and I looked up and I was trying to tell people like, oh my God, I know her. Oh my God, I really like, he really knew me. He was like my childhood, like one of my best friends from high school and was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, yes, that's been super duper fun. Everything about this book tour and launching this book has been super fun.
I'm excited to dig into it because this is something that I see echoed on a lot of like Facebook groups with parenting right now. There's the question about, oh my gosh, my kid is only 8 years old. Is it too young for them to be in puberty? And I just knew from talking with you through our summit that no, it is not too young. So can you give us a little intro into what you call these forgotten years, the 6 to 12 years old, and what we may be seeing with them, including puberty starting a little bit earlier than we expect?
Yes. So there's one thing I coined and there's one thing I haven't. So the thing I haven't coined are the forgotten years. That's actually like our lingo in the field of psychology.
Oh.
They're called the forgotten years because
yes,
that's not
because we forget about them.
That's real. That's like real. And it really is because, It started with Freud, called it latency. And then all these years leading up, it was like, yeah, it kind of gets quiet. They're school age children. They go off to
Yeah.
school and people get their lives
You're like, they're on autopilot. We're good for a little bit. We're good for a little bit.
Right, because you're kind of like, we used to be geared up for high school. Then I felt like, oh no, now we got to get geared up for middle school. And now I'm so sad to deliver the news that you need to get geared up for like third grade.
You have to be conscious the entire time. No breaks at all.
Yeah, maybe like K1-2, take your biggest breather.
Those kids have a lot of energy too, those K1-2 energy. So like, what was the moment that made you realize how crucial this stage actually was?
Yes, I think like it starts with my online class. Well, it didn't start as an online class. It was an in-person class. It still is, right? And I remember first of all, when I created it, I was like, this is a 6th grade class. And then like before we even launched it, my partner was like, no, I think it's a 5th, 6th grade class. And I'm like, oh, really? I was like really bummed. And this is for context, almost 13 years ago. And I was like, okay. So then it was a 5th, 6th grade class. Great. So then after the first one, and I was doing the second one, people started calling and being like, hey, I saw your class, but I have a 4th grader. And I think I need to bring my 4th grader. And I was like, okay. And I literally even created what I called the younger kids version of the class. I still have it. And I was like, okay. So then I did that. Then by about my 4th class that I did, a mom called and she said, I have a 5th grader I'm going to bring, but I also want to bring my 3rd grader. And I was like, no, I don't think so.
I can't scare that kid.
Yes, exactly. I was like, no, I don't know if this is appropriate. And she was like, no, really? Like she's got breasts and everything developing. And
oh my gosh.
I gave like a huge disclaimer. Give me eye contact if anything's not okay. And like, let's just monitor. I was so like nervous. And then they come, I literally can remember it clearly. They're like kind of front and center. And as soon as I saw the girl, I was like, yeah, she really does need to be here. She's almost as tall as her 5th grade sister. She's developed. She was curious. She was smart. She wanted to know. That was when I realized. So that's an anecdotal story. And that started like 10 years ago. And I started realizing like, oh my gosh, kids could be as young as 3rd grade in this. So I would say by and large, it became a 4th, 5th class, not a 5th, 6th class. And then boom, the pandemic happened. Pediatricians, endocrinologists, they started reporting, whoa, we're seeing a lot of kids coming through now with either precocious puberty. So that's 7 and under for girls or 8 and under for boys, or they were just coming in on that super early side. And so they started reporting it. So it was like simultaneous to the mental health crisis, we were having this earlier puberty and it all came together. And I didn't really think of it, but actually someone said to me, this is it. This is what you need to be writing about. And that's how it came to be.
Those middle childhood years. It's amazing how puberty has shifted like that so fast. It feels like since like our generation was like 20, 30 years ago, and it's made such huge shifts into now like parents, as we said earlier, you get no break in these middle childhood years. So many moms are in the thick of school drop-offs and homework fights and everything that really is common in these years. But what signs should they look for that their child is under a deeper stress than they realize?
Yep. Okay. So, and this can be whether your kid is in earlier puberty or not, right? So the whole book isn't about just earlier puberty. It's like, hey, this is middle childhood, something we don't talk about. And here are all the things that could be happening. And so they could be in earlier puberty. And if they're not, someone around them is, though. So it's still important to know. And then we've got these pressures. And I think that the words pressure and elementary school age kids are not normally thought of together. We think their lives are pretty carefree and they're pretty young. But what we know is that at this age, kids are reporting that academic pressure is number one for them. And so they are getting the message really early on. You know, you're kind of done playing. Playing is something we reserve for a small amount of time throughout the day. And what you're really here to do is learn, read, write, math, keep learning new ways to do math. All the things.
Thank God. New math. I hate new math. Sorry, go on.
I can't do math. I just can't do it. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't help them. So I want parents to like really soak that in when you, first of all, when you see your kid and they're in this age range, you probably do not see them for very long. And your conversations are pretty precious because they do come home late. They might have sports or activities after school. You're doing your thing. And so this is the time to really think about what is the emphasis that I'm putting on, because there are other stages of development that need to be nurtured, not just academic. That's one. That's just one. And leave that to teachers and leave it to your role to be supportive if they ask you for support. If they don't ask you for help with your homework or support, these are the years. Trust them. Try to let them do it on their own. That's the kind of independence and autonomy that they need during this time. Don't waste your precious 20, 30 minutes with your kid on a school night focusing on school if that's not even what they want help with.
Oh my gosh, that is such powerful advice, Sheryl. Like, I think everyone needs that advice because parents are very, very worried about their kids' academic success. And it isn't exactly what you said. It isn't what kids need. So we're going to get into what kids need right after this.
Long gone are the days of waiting to be seen in a doctor's office only to have that awkward conversation with your healthcare provider. WISP gives you access to sexual and reproductive healthcare from the comfort of your home. Get treatment for BV, yeast infections, UTIs, and much more delivered directly to your home or ready for pickup at your local pharmacy in less than 3 hours. The best part? WISP is discreet, convenient, and you don't need medical insurance to receive care or prescription medication. Visit us today at hellowisp.com.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Now, something that you say that kids need in your book, Sheryl, is that they really need help on the social and emotional aspects. What can parents do at home to help them with that?
So I think the first thing they can do, you're going to probably hear me say this more than once, but is you need to get educated, because the truth is I am a child psychologist in practice for 25 years. And until I wrote this book, I didn't even know. You could have asked me, you could have been like, okay, so what should we expect of a 9-year-old? And I would have given you a pretty good answer. But in the book, I literally break it down by age: 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I do 10, and then I do 11, 12 combo. And what I did was just the way, remember when we all had babies and we knew their milestones? Like, it was so awesome, right? Like,
The Wonder
right now,
Weeks.
like, right, I could give you a quiz. I could be like, at 3 months, what should a baby be doing? We all know, right? But if I say at 6 years old, what should a kid be doing?
Showering on their own. Bam! That's all I got.
Right. They can shower on their own and, I don't know, start to read books, right? Start, like basic books, right? In terms of social emotional, here's what I did. So the 6 to 12 time frame that I'm talking about is based on Erikson's theories. And when you basically get done with this stage, you're either industrious or you feel inferior. So he called it industry versus inferiority. Today's modern terms: self-esteem, positive self-esteem or negative self-esteem, healthy or unhealthy. So I went through social emotional, right? But these are the other categories too: self-esteem, problem solving, moral development, self-expression, responsibility, and attention span. So for every age in this,
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I wrote like the simplest thing, no more than 3 sentences underneath it. I'm just going to take 6, right? Under moral development, at 6 years old, they're still in the formative stage of what is right and wrong, fair and just.
Yep.
And they're oriented toward fixed rules. They will rely on their immediate family's rules to guide them in the world. So if you ask me, what is like one of probably the top 3 things I want people to understand is that you are still their favorite person, the smartest person, the most beautiful person in the world to a 6 to 12-year-old. Not so much for 13, 14, 15, right? Maybe you go back to it when they're in college. But there's no when they're done with this stage, right? They go off and it's the identity years. So we're done with these industrious years. And so what you want is you want to go, oh, these aren't the forgotten years. This is my twist. These are my years of opportunity. I get to influence my kid. They're going to actually listen to me. If I tell them that's wrong, that's not what you do this. They're going to listen. When they're 14, they're going to push back and they're going to say, you know what? But I think there's exceptions to that actually. They're going to have all sorts of opinions, right? And that is really cool. But if you have some strong values and there are things that really matter to you, it is now. And it's not even 0 to 5. 0 to 5 is you're keeping them alive. You're working on your attachment. They're working on safety and security in the world. That's what you're providing 0 to 5. 6 to 12, you're providing competency. You're providing opportunities for them to go practice things. You're providing them with moral grounding and values. And then they head off to the teen years. And in a way, this book is a roadmap to healthier teenage years. And in their teen years, there's their identity. They're figuring out, who am I looking for? Who are my people? You want them to know who they are first before they start looking for their people.
You're talking about how this goes into like about age 12, but I feel in my bones that my kids started leaving listening to me and me having any authority around 10, 11. Is that normal nowadays, since we're talking about this whole like puberty? Is that part of the whole puberty process starting earlier? Is that a societal thing more so?
Yeah, I think it can be probably the trifecta of your kid's temperament. If your kid's a little bit more strong-willed, then right? So a strong-willed child, and I don't mean like extreme or anything. I just mean who's like sort of strong-willed in the world. Yes, they start to kind of be like, these are my thoughts and values, maybe a little bit sooner. That's one factor. The second factor is their environment. Do they go to the kind of school where they teach them debate and critical thinking and they encourage that, if that's the kind of school they go to?
I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah. We'll say it's the school. It's the school. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny though, Sheryl, you like mentioned all of those social emotional skills like moral development and like capability. When we're in the working world and work with other adults, those are the skills actually that make someone very pleasurable to work with versus someone who is hard to work with. So it's interesting to me how we as parents tend to harp on the academics versus those social emotional skills, which are really the most important thing for them to succeed in the world.
Yes, I'm so happy you just talked about this. And this is fresh on my mind because I just got back from LA late last night and I did a segment 2 days ago. And the segment was how EQ helps IQ in middle childhood. And it was so good for me to even prep this because simply put, our emphasis on these academics, we have got to look to the future, which I know a lot of parents don't fully yet understand. Maybe none of us fully, but AI and these technological advances, they got a lot of things that are like academic, right? We're going to have to learn how to work with it. So when you look at the future and you ask employers, what are they looking for? It's exactly what you said. A team player, right? That's one thing. Somebody who knows how other people feel. That's empathy. They call them these human-centric. I think we've gone away from these soft skills because they're not soft skills at all. They're human-centric. We got the technology. It's only going to continue to evolve. But we need people who understand other people, who are good with other people. And then they can take the humanness, right, of whatever industry I'm in, find out what it is you really need, customer, client, and then use technology to make that happen. So I really want parents to understand this EQ piece, this social emotional piece, is actually absolutely more important today than it ever has been.
Well, let's talk about that technology component, Sheryl, because there's also a big preoccupation of parents with the screen time and the amount of time their kids are on screens, knowing that in the future, technology is going to be a big part of it. So, what important conversations should we be having with our kids in the 6 to 12-year range about screens?
So much. And I will tell you that in the book, this is probably the chapter I think I might be most proud of. Just because there's nothing that I have seen, and I feel like I've read almost everything that I could find, but there's nothing that I've seen that really is geared towards 6 to 12. They're mostly these kinds of articles and stats, and all the research is really geared toward teenagers. And part of that is because you're supposed to be 13 and older to be on social media apps. So there's a lot of focus on how many hours a day are teens on. But 6 to 12, just like everything I've been saying, you get to lay the foundation. I had this book launch party in Santa Monica, and a mom looked at me and she was like, literally nodding. She was stressed out. And she was like, oh my God, my kid is 8 and I've done everything wrong. Of course, moms always think I've done everything wrong. I don't think I've
Because it's always mom's fault, but we'll let that go.
Oh, exactly. And she was like looking at me horrified. And I was like, no, it is not too late. So no matter where you are. But I think a couple of things for parents to know is that in this country, most children have their first smartphone by the age of 10. 10, okay? And 3/4 will own it by 12. And probably, I bet it's even a little bit higher now. So we're talking half to 3/4 between 10 and 12 get smartphones. So what does that mean? That means you all of a sudden at like 9 or whenever before they're going to get one, you have to start talking to them about everything from deep fakes to filters to time management to if they have ADHD or any other kind of neurodevelopmental atypical type of way that they think and function, they're going to be more sucked into it. That is crystal clear. And 40% of 8 to 12-year-olds are already on social media. You're going to need to talk to them about safety, security, boundaries, group chats. And I will tell you, when I say this, a lot of parents are like, I don't even know if I know enough to tell my kid. And I'm like, right. So that's why you don't give it to them until you really feel like you've got the time to put in to learn it good enough, right? Which is probably a lot more than what the average person knows right now. And so I provide those kinds of scripts. I've pulled out, like this chapter, I've got tons of overflow. It didn't make it into the chapter, but I left in here what I thought were at least fundamental for in it. And basically, like, I'll take a topic and then I'll say what parents need to know, and I don't make it too long, and then what kids need to know. And it's almost like a script so that a parent, even if they need to, they literally can just take the book and just be like, okay, digital citizenship, and then I have the way you talk about it.
It works really well when talking to kids as well, because they like to know that you are learning right alongside them. I think a lot of parents, and if you're one of them right now listening, don't get caught up in thinking you need to know everything. You could totally take this book and learn right alongside your kids, and your kids are going to have so much info to share. I know my kids, anytime I'm like, hey, I've been hearing about this, like, what do you think about it? What are you seeing? And they add in info like I didn't even know based on like what kids are doing in their classroom. So it's just an opportunity for conversation. After this, Sheryl, we're going to get into some other conversations that you recommend parents can have with their kids to shape that mental health and self-esteem right after this.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So good, so good, so good. Get ready, because Clear the Rack is on at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through Monday, find incredible deals on Wear Now styles. On sale for even less at Nordstrom Rack. Take an extra 25% off red tag clearance throughout the store from brands like Free People, Steve Madden, Vince, and more. All sales final. The best stuff goes fast. So shop this sale at Nordstrom Rack today. Please see nordstromrack.com or ask a store associate for details.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for a light and fit remix. Like a crunchy storm of graham cookies, caramel pearls, and dark chocolate, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 light and fit remix varieties with craveable flavors and up to 120 calories and 10 grams of protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
So, what can we do as parents? We talked about screens. What are other conversations that we need to have with kids in these crucial years?
So there's a couple topics that I pick. And I think, again, people are going to go to this when they probably need it, right? So you might hear something and you go, oh,
Yeah.
that's not an issue for us. And then boom, 6 months later, you're like, oh, now it is.
Oh, that happens all the time. I swear.
It does. And I will say the most positive part of the feedback I think so far that I've gotten about the book is the layout of it. It lends itself to that. Okay, if you don't want to read it cover to cover, read what works for you today and just know the rest of it is in there, right? And so I think there's body image, there is relationship
Yeah.
with food, there's disordered eating, there's
Yep.
sports pressure stuff. There are really a lot of topics. I'd say the next one after screens that people seem to be most though curious about is really regulation, which means you got a kid with really big feelings, or maybe even you yourself as a parent, you get triggered and you get really big feelings, or you get angry, or you yell.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I intended that to be one chapter and it wound up being two because there was just way too much information. So I broke it down. The first chapter starts with the parent. Hey, parents, this is a triggering time. If you realize it or don't realize it, a lot of stuff happened in your life, 6 to 12, right?
Yeah.
Moves, divorces, death, loss, friendship changes. So sometimes parents are getting triggered by the stuff going on during this time. And then there's the next chapter. So first regulate yourself as a parent. Then there's the chapter on how to support your kids so that they learn to self-regulate because you're not with them all the time. And it's an essential tool we need throughout our entire lifetimes. So it's not just a childhood thing. So I'd say that's probably the topic that people are most curious about, probably right after or right with screens.
With parents, you recommend a few strategies for them to help with this regulation and tools like attunement and containment and conceptualizing those challenges with a calm lens. Can you give us just an overview of those three tools that parents can put into use?
Yes, I know people probably can't see me right now, but I have a smile on my face because like it's so cool that when I was trained in everything that you said, which is a lot of attachment therapy kind of stuff, I was trained in the 90s, people. And at the time, nobody really talked about these things like at all. So a week ago, I got to do this book signing, and one of my only bosses really ever and my mentor was in the audience front and center. And she invested so much in me so that I learned this and so that I brought it to our team and our organization. And she's standing there and I looked at her and I said to her, can you believe that everybody's talking about this? They're using these terms that were like just in our world. And she just smiled. But we talked about it for so long. We talked about containment for so long. So these, again, are strategies that you use with your kid that really bring your regulatory skills to your relationship. So what that means is go back to thinking about when you had a baby and the baby was crying, right? Think about those first couple of weeks. You kind of quickly as a parent realize, oh, that cry means this. Oh, when they do this, it means that. Oh, they're rubbing their nose, they're tired. Like you just started to know where other people might say, oh my gosh, the baby's getting fussy. What do they need? And then boom, as a parent in week 3, you're like, boom, they have a dirty diaper. Like you knew you were reading their signs. And then that's how you establish a really healthy relationship. The baby knew I do this need gets met. Beautiful. So then they become toddlers and then, young children, and they're not crying in that same way. Now they've got verbal skills. So what you need to do though, is you need to come in with your own skills. So containment says basically, I have you contained, psychologically safe. I'm going to use proximity. I'm going to either do eye contact because that will be right, or I'm purposely not going to do eye contact because I think you're going to talk more. Containment also means that you have my full presence. I'm going to come down to your level. I might sit on the floor. That's actually really important. When they're escalated and you're escalated, remember, you're still bigger than them. When you stand over somebody, that's threatening and intimidating, whether you mean to or not. It just is.
Yeah.
Boom, come down.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to change your tone of voice. It might become very, very soft. And then it changes the tone of what we're doing, even though they're getting really, really big. So containment says, I'm attuning. I'm watching you. Attuning means just like it sounds. I'm tuning into your feelings, even if I don't know why it's happening. I'm tuning into you and I'm figuring out how to best respond. Sometimes that means I got to take a break, or you have to take a break. Sometimes that means you need a hug. Sometimes it means you need some food and you're hungry. Sometimes it means, let me get you a cool rag and put it on you. It can mean a lot of things, but to be contained and containing somebody else means that you are regulated enough to be in relationship, hang in there with it. It usually doesn't last that long. When you get good, this is a few minutes, but it's a few uninterrupted intentional minutes. So I give a lot of those because if parents could just learn these strategies, I think more than half of your dysregulation problems with your kid will really subside, and they will learn these things just like they learned to grab that lovey when they were 3 years old, when they were upset. They're going to learn the skills that they need for their whole lifetime.
Oh, absolutely. Like trying to dig in and find out the underlying cause of their kids' behavior is such an important thing. And it's actually like a life-changing parenting. I almost think it's a hack, even though it's not a hack, but it's something that when parents who are used to reacting and used to really fighting back against their kids start doing this, they see it almost as a magic trick.
Imagine how much more harmonious the world would be if some particular adults that we all know very well in places of power had better emotional regulation.
Yeah.
had some containment and safe, secure situations growing up. They might be able to handle upsetness better.
Everything from leadership, for sure, right? Leadership. I think of parents as leaders too. Parent leadership.
We are the CEOs of it all. So we are in leadership.
We are. It would change the world. I mean, think about road rage. Think about, right?
Right?
All the things in which, or everything even from racism. I mean, there's lots of things that because something scares us or something is different than us, we are intimidated by it. So when you confront a stressor, you're going to fight, flight, or freeze. And if I am not in touch with, whoa, what just triggered me? Why?
Yeah.
What's underneath it, right? And so in the book, I talk about the tornado and a volcano and the iceberg. These are all great ways that you can just have a lingo with your kid. I talk about windows of tolerance. Like, yeah, I didn't handle that so well this morning. My window like slammed shut when that certain
I
thing
like
happened.
that. Yeah.
I know what mine is. Like, I recently used it, so I'll tell a real story. My daughter sent me a text. It's like it was 5:59 and there was a meeting at 6:00. And she said, all the moms are already here. Where are you?
That's a triggery one. Yeah.
Triggered. I'm fully admitting I was fully triggered. Now, again, Joanne, you might have gotten that one and you might be like, hey, no problem, babe. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
It's like, forget what the moms are doing. I'm right here.
Yes, I went off. I really did. On text.
Oh,
I went off and I was like, yeah, well, I don't know what all those moms were doing today, but I know what I was doing. I mean, I went off. She replied, I'm sorry. I'll see you when you get here. She knew. I was like, back it up, sister. I'm going to be there. I was 4 minutes late. I really was just, finishing up a meeting. I got so triggered, but why was I triggered? I mean, I thought about that one because I, on a different day, might have handled it better. But yeah, I was triggered because I am working a ton right now and I don't want to miss anything for my kids. And I don't want to be perceived as a bad mom. And I want validation that I'm working really hard. Like
validation.
Right?
Oh, validation.
We want our kids to acknowledge, can I just share with you guys? My phone is on Do Not Disturb as we're recording this. Yet, you know that there are certain contacts that can get through. My daughter has texted me no less than 5 times asking to get called out so she can go get lunch because they didn't have the food she wanted at her high school for lunch today.
Yep.
All I texted back was, can't, an interview. 5 texts since that. I would blow up at her if she walked through the store right now because there's no validation. There's no understanding that, right? That window of tolerance is slammed shut for me right now.
Exactly. So knowing those triggers and also hearing everything we talked about in this episode, when a parent finishes this episode, Sheryl, and they want to take just one small action to show up for their child during these crucial years, what would you recommend they do?
I would recommend that they tune into themselves first and just say, what am I enjoying about this age right now? Whatever their age of kid is, right? What am I enjoying about this? Because that's probably where they themselves are feeling competent. And then maybe ask themselves, what's really challenging for me right now? And whatever is really challenging, and it could be everything. It could be, yeah, my kid is already strong-willed. They're already moody. They're telling me things that I don't even know what to say, whatever it might be. I would say get educated, because this is not the same elementary school age years that we went through. Get educated and learn how to have open conversations with your kids. Everything from, we didn't talk about puberty that much, but everything from being comfortable talking to your son about masturbation to being comfortable talking to your daughter about her breast development, or either of the kids about their body odor and their need for better hygiene. Like, for some people, they might listen and be like, who has a problem with that? I tell my kid all the time, they stink. Other parents will be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make my kid feel bad.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me. I'll be honest with you. I'm that parent that's like, I don't want to tell my kid that they need deodorant. Like, I always was
It was the
preoccupied.
kid who was not told they needed deodorant. And I was ostracized in my 7th grade class for it. And so I'm always like straight on that smell. I'm like, okay, we're smelling a little bit. Let's do a shower. Let's go get deodorant. Let's go.
They're getting ready to walk out the door, and Joanne's like, hit check. Everybody lift your arms.
I have such a well-developed sense of smell from that whole experience that I could smell immediately.
But those are really good points. There's a lot of topics that I get very squeamish about because in my childhood, they weren't talked to me about. So I don't know how to even engage in that conversation. So I have to say, I do love in your book, Sheryl, the fact that you have so much support in there, ideas on how to have the conversations and getting started on them. It's huge.
It's huge.
I want to point out, just listening to the two of you, literally you had two, Joanne didn't share, but you have two different experiences in childhood that I am very sure are informing this exact conversation, right? For you, Bree, nobody talked to you about it. So you're repeating that pattern. That's what we do. We unconsciously repeat the patterns, right? We can stop any pattern we want, but we got to be conscious of it even happening. And Joanne, for some reason, I'm going to guess that either you said nobody talked to you about like the whole armpit thing. You had, what happened to you was you had a blunt negative experience. And so now you're bringing to the table, like someone told you, it just wasn't a parent, right? A teen.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard them whispering right next to me during class.
Oh,
yes.
no.
Right. So do you see what I mean? Though someone told you, even if it was cruel and it was, but someone told you. And so now you're really sensitive to this. And so because you're sensitive to it, you're on it with your kids, right? And in Bree's case, nobody had this conversation with her. Maybe nobody said anything to her in school that you know of. And so you're just going into it this way. And so that's why I said when you said what's one thing, like a parent to think about, what's hard and challenging for me right now? Like, you're not the only person. It will be in the book somewhere, because there are themes that are really challenging during these ages, and they haven't been given a name. And so we just haven't been able to talk about it. But what we experience as kids is very likely going to repeat itself the way we parent ages of these kids. So again, if there's things you're really proud of and they went great, you're going to rock it there. And there's probably going to be other areas that will screens. Like, there was no talking to you about screens.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Sheryl, listen on a high note. What is, not like the whole episode hasn't been a high note, it's been great. What is one thing that you're looking forward to that's happening in your life?
Oh, yes. Well, I am looking forward to the hurry up to slow down. So right now I'm I'm doing a million interviews, and not a million, but I'm doing a lot of interviews and talking about the book. And I'm really looking forward to that. And simultaneous, I'm looking forward to probably like end of June, where I'm going to be so chill. And I'm going to be so much slower and very relaxed and working like half the amount I normally do, and really enjoying the start of my daughter's senior year in high school. That's really a strong.
Our daughters are starting senior year too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It makes me so sad. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm looking forward to at least going into it again with an intention to be like, I do not want this year to fly by and me think like, oh my gosh, I was so busy or distracted. So I'm going to really, really focus on like presence and slowing down and doing less.
Always a slowing down. God has a slow down. Well, thank you so much, Sheryl, for joining us for the 3rd time. And we will talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
I always love talking to Sheryl. Like, it's always a blast. She's so well prepared and she's able to quote those facts and those figures like so easily. I saw her. She was turning through a notebook and I'm like, this is like a master class on giving an interview about my book. This is like amazing, Sheryl.
Well, I love Sheryl because I just feel like she's one of those people that really gets it.
Yeah.
Really gets it, really understands the struggles, especially the ones that face us as moms. And talking about too, like these years, that 6 to 12 is hard. Married, single parenting, solo parenting, it doesn't matter. It's a hard one. And like when we got off, I shared a story with her about how I knew things that I wanted to tell my daughter because they were things that weren't told to me and I had to figure it out on my own. Shaving my leg and using feminine products. Like those were things that nobody taught me. We didn't talk about in our house. And I just had to figure it out on my own. Luckily, I had older sisters, so at least I had supplies. So I made sure I told my daughter that. But then I remember like randomly one Tuesday night watching TV with my kids and my son, who was 11 at the time, turns to me and goes like, Mom, my balls really hurt. And I'm like, as a single parent at that moment, I was like, here's the phone. You want to call your dad? Like, I don't know what to say.
Well,
Like,
you don't know what you don't know. It's
right?
It's all good. It's all good. It's like,
but it helps to have something behind you. So I really do. Like, I know we talked to Sheryl before. She was excited about writing this book. I love this book, The Crucial Years. It's so well written. It's such an easy handbook to use. It's fantastic. So
yeah, all her work is fantastic. So you can grab The Crucial Years right on our link below in the show notes. If you're listening on a podcast app or go to our website, nogutmom.com. Please share this episode with a friend. Share it with somebody that you don't know. And until next time, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You can also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.